Welcome back to Retro Wednesday at the Tydirium Hangar. This is Mike. Today I want to talk to you about the Robotech Matchbox Veritech fighter, and I'm going to talk about the features. We're going to do a lightning round on the features. We're going to discuss the different versions, whether it be Harmony Gold or the Exo Squad from Playmates, and then we're going to get into comparisons. We're going to compare it to the G1 Jetfire. We're going to take a look at this on Retro Wednesday here at the Tydirium Hangar. But let's get a look at this Veritech fighter coming up. Starting out, there are three different versions of the Veritech fighter. I've got some box art here I'm going to show. There was the Matchbox and the Harmony Gold, which I'm actually not sure which one was released first in the US. Was the Harmony Gold one, or was it the Matchbox, or was Harmony Gold for outside the US? So some of that stuff I don't really know. It doesn't really matter at this point. We've got what we've got, and that's all we could say. But then they came out with the in the 90s, it was an Exo Squad reissue, and it had some kind of dirty carbon scoring on it, so it just had some paint splatter all over it, and you see that with all the other ones that they put out for the Exo Squad, and that's one thing that differentiates it. Also, the canopy on the original one from the Matchbox actually has some line work on it, and there's no line work paint detail. It's all just one color of canopy for the Exo Squad, but differentiating them can be tough, and as we go through looking at these, I'll show some difference in the one I have. Feature lightning round. Opening and closing canopy. Realistically detailed cockpit. Holds a 3.75-inch figure with plenty of space. Has a mech head with a quadra gun, 2 guns on each side, and it rotates. Retractable landing gear that are guaranteed to break in the first 5 minutes. Giant mech gun that actually can't be held by the mech because it doesn't transform, so it mounts below. Adjustable wings for different flight positions and different levels of fun. 4 sets of missiles, and they have a clear red tip. Also, they are mounted on these triple tripod mounts that are removable. Opening and closing thrusters for major thrusting action and different poses. Top-mounted dual thrusters for massive speed. Adjustable tail fins for alternate play and alternate display. Now with the feature lightning round out of the way, we can take a look at this, and I want to point out a few things. First of all, it does have this nice canopy here, and it opens up, and it holds in the up position. So if you want to display it like they're getting into it, or they're getting out of it, or you just want it next to a figure next to it and display it. Now, I didn't even go into detail. Is this technically Rick's version or Roy Fokker's version or all that kind of stuff? Didn't go into all that detail, but I put one of, since I have 3, I've got one with Lisa Hayes, one with Roy Fokker, and one with Rick Hunter in it. And they do fit the figure really well, which I don't know of another one of these that fits a 3.75-inch figure. Now, probably getting that in the end, but really wish one that transformed would fit a 3.75-inch figure, but that's a different story. And there are some labels in here, some decals. It looks like there's all kinds of stuff going on, but there's some etched in detailing inside of it too, so it's canopy's getting in the way. And then there's another sticker right there, so there's a lot of detail in this that they put into it that you're not going to see in, say, a Jetfire or something along those lines, simply because of the fact that it's much bigger, and they had to, of course, build it more or less from the ground up when they made it. And I don't think they reused any of these parts, like actual reuse of parts on anything else other than just this Veritech fighter, so that was pretty cool in itself. Then we get into the next feature, which is these thrusters. Now, I'm not sure. Some of them pop on and off a little easier than others. So this one here, it's really a concern about breaking. It's real easy to break these bad boys, so you got to kind of be careful. And we already saw it converted over, but I will be pulling that one back out for another comparison here in a bit. But then we have some decals. Mine are kind of rough. I mean, I try to get mine as cheap as possible. We'll get into price here in a bit too. Here it is from behind. And then there's the giant thrusters. And these rear thrusters, which I need to kind of tighten that screw up, but I messed around with the landing gear to get the landing gear to work right. and couldn't quite get that one back together all the way. There we go. That opens up, and we have this going on right here. And then I think there's supposed to be a decal right there. One of my other ones has a decal right there. Getting into the bottom, there's a nice decal on the side right here. And then the landing gear are an issue. So that's a big problem with the landing gear. I have kind of fixed them with friction. So I put tape. So I took them apart. I put a little bit of tape on each side and then put it back together. So again, it's not coming together as well because there's more resistance with that tape. What happens is there's a little piece inside of here that you kind of fold up, and you have to push it in as you close it. Now I broke this one, but I have one over here, and as you can see, when you go to close this, you have to push that in to close it. But I'm not going to close it back up because I broke one of these trying to close it. So that sucks. I had one complete unbroken. All of the landing gear were unbroken until I broke one trying to close it. Now I'm just going to leave it open forever, I guess, because I don't want to break it again. But let's get into some more of these features. So here's the missiles, and the missiles they pop on and off this little triple mounting piece right here, and then they slide into the bottom of the wing like this, and they can move a little bit, but I don't know why you'd want them to move, and the missiles really are right here to be shot. And it is interesting that they went with the clear tips, and that's kind of cool, but it comes with 4 times 3, that's 12 missiles. So to have it complete, you need 12 missiles. And I'm sure kids lost these missiles, so it's kind of hard to get a hold of all 12 missiles on it. Part of why it's pricey when we get into the pricing section is having all the missiles and all the little parts and pieces to it to complete it. But it's one of those weird things. You've got to have that. On the reverse side, we see a mech head with kind of like a green front face. And it is removable. There is there's 2 tabs, but generally if you remove it, you break one of those 2 tabs to get it out of there. The plastic is quite fragile. There are breaks. I have several breaks in my 3. It just is what it is. But you also have these kind of head horn pieces that are on that head. But I guess you're supposed to just make it look like they're 4 guns. I guess that's the way it is. And then again, you've got another part of the mech that should have been a transforming mech. You should have been able to put this in there. You should have been able to put the gun in the hand of the transforming mech. Now, these should have been the arms right here that it's connected to, but they're one solid chunk as to where it doesn't transform. So it doesn't transform, but we have the gun as if it does transform. A lot of stuff's really weird about this that makes a lot of people think that they originally intended this to be a transforming toy, and they decided for it to not be a transforming toy. But I would love somebody to make this scale of Veritech Fighter as a transforming toy, but I don't know if it's licensing or what it is, but nobody's done it that fits 3.75 inch figures. And the other ones that don't fit 3.75 inch figures are like $300, $400 figures. It's just insane how expensive the transforming mechs are in the modern era. I do want to point out that I have 3 of these, and with having 3 of them mostly completed, I've noticed that one of them is kind of a different color. Not just that it's maybe slightly yellowing, but this has a blue tint or tinge to it. I don't know if it's showing up on the camera all so well, but it has kind of a blue tint to it, just ever so slightly. And I think that the ones that have this tint to it don't yellow like this isn't super bright white, slightly yellowed. I'd say slightly yellowed. But this here I think is preserved because the bright white yellows a lot easier than anything with a little bit of color in it. Now the blue stuff does tend to discolor in its own way, and it's not exactly yellowing, but I don't know if this was Harmony Gold's color and then this was Matchbox's color, or it could have been either one just at different factories. So I don't know, but I actually have 2 that are in this color, sort of bluish color, and I think they look better than the one in the white that has sort of a yellowing look to it. But without being able to open it out of the box, nobody really knows, and I haven't really come across anyone that knows about this slight blue tinge to it and what that goes to, because all the stickers are exactly the same, all the paint apps appear to be exactly the same, and if you're buying used like I am, you're trolling the lower price point area, then you don't really know, because you don't get one sealed in the box, you don't get it new in the box, and that's just the way it is. And nobody in any video or online resource has pointed out that there's kind of like a bluish tone to some of these. Now for the size comparison to the Jetfire. This thing is absolutely massive compared to a G1 Jetfire, a vintage Jetfire. It is just huge. This is my buddy Phillips. I have all my other ones in the robot mode, so to have it in jet mode, this was the first one I thought of. Yes, I have my childhood one in jet mode too. I probably should have pulled that one out. This is just a size comparison so you can see how big and massive this is, how massive it has to be to fit a 3.75 inch figure. But also you can notice that they had to do some things a little bit different. It doesn't match the animation as well because it has a giant chunk right here. So it really is not to true scale, because it would need to be much bigger to have this narrow, sleek front end and nose cone and cockpit to fit the 3.75 inch, but still be this narrow. It would have to be much, much bigger. I would not want this thing any bigger than it is for a toy line, for a vintage toy line. Would I want one bigger anyway? I don't know if I'd have the resources to allocate towards maybe one twice the size. So I think I'm happy with where they went with it. I just wish it would transform. I mean, at the end of the day, even as big and bulky and kind of chunky looking as it is, if it transformed and you could keep the figure in there, it would be awesome. But anyway, there's the size and scale. Plus this one has the missiles on the wings. This one doesn't. There's a whole lot of differences between the two, but so many similarities. All right, now we got to talk about the price. This is not a cheap toy. The reason I didn't have this when I did my Robotech week was because it was way too expensive, and I didn't have a complete one. I think I was working on one at the time, but I told myself I wasn't worried about it. I didn't care about it. But over a course of a year, I was able to piece these together. I don't have more than $200 in each one of these, but that's a lot of work, time, effort to go after it and find that. And mine have breaks and cracks, and they're not perfect, but I'm happy with that. If you want to get one that's complete, and I'm not going to say unbroken. I'm saying there's probably going to be broken stuff on almost each one of these. But if you want 100% complete and all the parts there and in decent condition, $400 is what everyone's asking, and it's pretty close across the board, around $350 to $400. That's just out the gate complete. If you buy them and piece them together over the course of a year, you can get one for $200 probably. If you slowly piece it together and you sit through 6 auctions and all that kind of stuff, that's your choice. But it's not cheap, and some people, if it's boxed and it's sealed, I mean, the sky is the limit. $1,800, $2,000 for a sealed one, who knows? And to get one with the actual Matchbox box versus the Exo Squad versus the Harmony Gold, I mean, you're looking at more money there too. So it's just a challenge. Mine are loose, no box, and pieced together over the course of a year, and that's how I got it cheaper. All right, that's my look at the Veritech Fighter for, you could say, Matchbox, Harmony Gold. Not so much the Exo Squad, because I don't have the one with the speckled paint all over it. I don't have that or any of those models, but it's almost looking like those are the ones that are most common, but they're still very expensive. But I'm curious what you think about this. Did you ever have the Veritech Fighter back in the day? Do you have one this day and age? How did you come across yours? I'm sure everyone's got a fun story about this Veritech Fighter. Let me know in the comments below. Like and subscribe, and Tidarium Hanger out.